Hey everybody, Russ here at Shaper, and we just wrapped up today's Shaper session about export from Origin 5 different ways.
Yeah. Using export with your Origin is going to save you a lot of time. It's going to open up your Origin designs to some of the more powerful capabilities of Studio. And if you're in the middle of a project and something goes wrong, exporting can really save your hide.
Yeah. Our buddy Sean's joining us for this show. It's a lot of fun. If you liked it, make sure you like and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, and be sure to join us live at 4 o'clock Pacific every other Thursday for Shaper sessions at shapertools.com/sessions. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shaper Sessions. My name is Jake.
I'm Russ.
And I'm Sean.
Today, we're talking about export. All kinds of ways.
And we had to bring in the expert.
Expert and export.
Hey. We got a lot of really awesome demos for you guys. We're talking about all the different ways that you can take files and workspaces off your Origin. Then we're going to send them over to Sean, and he's going to fix them up in Studio, do a lot of different things, and we're going to bring them back to Origin.
Yeah, pretty exciting technique.
Export, import. What do we call that? The round trip?
Called the round trip.
Yeah. Nice. So we're going to be...
And then back down.
Doing a lot of the round trip today. Reminder, this is a live show, so please drop your questions in the chat. We got a lot of people there. We got Ted answering questions, and then any questions that Ted can't answer, he's going to send to us to answer at the end of the show.
All really the juicy ones.
The juicy ones for Russ.
Yeah, that's right. We have a giveaway that we're going to do at the end of the show, so you're going to want to stick around for that. You're going to answer the poll question that pops up in the middle of the show. And we got a lot to learn today, so we should probably just jump right in.
This is a big one. This is Russ's last show with us,
and it's my last show. Yeah. I know. I didn't want to tear up just yet.
I'm sorry, I have to.
I brought some Kleenex for you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
But it is his last show, so he might go rogue with the giveaways. There's no stopping.
We're gonna do a little AMA later. So if you have any questions burning for Russ, this is your last chance. So get them in.
What does AMA stand for?
Ask me anything.
Oh, okay.
Ask me anything.
So it's ARA.
ARA. Without further ado, I think we should go ahead and get going.
We got a lot
on
to do
this
today.
One.
All right.
So here's the first thing here. We've got a board over here with some tenons that I set up in a workspace. And what we're going to do is drop some matching mortises on this board. Now, there's 5 tenons on here. Domino tenons, and I don't really want to have to redesign all this stuff over again. The more stuff that you design on tool, the less likely it is that you're going to want to duplicate that out into another workspace tediously by hand. But with export import here, we're going to make it super easy. And this feature's been out for a while, but we're just talking about it now because we're finally catching up with ourselves.
Yeah, it came
I think
out with
after all
Larkspur.
the bench pilot stuff.
Well, I'm going to hand this off to you then.
Thank you. Am I doing the work today?
That's the trick. Normally I'm running Origin, but today it's pretty much all you.
All right, so let me switch into my workspace here. I've got this pulled up. I've already scanned and gridded this board. Now what I want to do is go ahead and drop some mortises for these tenons just right here in the center of this, like I'm making some shelves, and this is something that domino joiner is classically really bad at, doing these nice lined up domino joints in the middle of a board. So I've got this pulled up on Origin, already scanned and gridded. First thing I'm going to do is go over to import. You might say, Russ, this is an export show. What's the deal? Well, we're going to get to that in a second. What I'm going to do is import these domino mortises from my other workspace. Okay. And I can set these anywhere on this board that I want. I'm just going to set these, how about 8 inches up? I love that position feature. And this is going to be perfectly centered.
Nice.
All right. Got that locked in there. We're ready to cut. I've got a 1/4 inch router bit in here. I know that I'm using 40 millimeter dominoes, so I'm going to cut this 20 millimeters deep. Going through all the settings, inside cut's perfect. I want to go to no offset at the end. Always Z-touch to double check. I want to check my speeds because with bench pilot, these can get cranked, but 15 inches a minute is good. And I'm going to turn on auto pass for this. no roughing passes, 3 quick passes, a little over a 1/4 inch each. What do you say, Sean? While I cut these, you can tell folks a little bit more about export, import, and how Origin works in general.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Sean ran off to bench B
I'm in
over there.
bench B all by my lonesome.
Holding it
but
down.
It'll be all right. Yeah, so as Russ cuts that, let's just talk through a little bit about what he did there in case you missed it. So as of Larkspur, which was released about a year ago, you can now import files that you created in other workspaces. So in the Import tab, instead of importing from the internet using Shaper Hub files and My Files, or USB using the little stick you plug in, there's a new item on the side that says Workspaces. And if you click that, it'll list every workspace you've ever created on Origin. So this is one of those things where people always say, shouldn't I delete my workspaces? I say no, because one day you might want one of those workspaces. And one of the key parts about importing from a workspace is it all happens locally on tool. You don't need any internet connection. It just automatically will pull that locally off the tool. Now, that's great because if you're in a place with no internet, you can just pull those up and you have access to any workspace you've ever created. So even 6 months ago, you created something and you need it again, you don't know where that file is, it's going to be in that menu as long as you haven't deleted your workspaces. Okay, so that's import from workspace. And this, like I said, happens all locally on tool. Now, let's say you want to save that externally up to the internet. In My Files, if you use a export feature on Origin, which we're going to go over after he shows this, those files actually get uploaded to the cloud. And so import from workspace happens locally on the tool. The export feature sends it up to the cloud. So if you happen to lose your tool or you delete the workspace, those files would no longer be available on your tool. But if you had exported it up to the cloud, it would actually work. So you can recall those at any time. And so this is kind of the big difference between these two. They both allow you to get files up and back, but one is a local process, import from workspace. The other is an external process, which uploads as a studio design up through the Shaper Hub platform. All right, how'd that go, Russ?
Super good. Good timing on that one.
Nice.
All right, so I've got this here all vacuumed out. I can go ahead and unclamp and show this off. So we got that board with our matching mortises. Now, before I go ahead and join this together, I want to do what you were talking about, Sean, which is go ahead and export this also so that I can show you guys what that's like. So importing makes it really easy to go from workspace to workspace just on the tool, but if you want to send that up to the cloud, that's going to be under Design and Export. And I'm just exporting this so that I can save it. I'm going to call it Domino Mortises. I might want to save this for the next time I do this kind of joinery.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, if you're importing straight into your current workspace from another one, you don't have some of the tools that Studio is going to offer you to modify and change things. And so that's where I would say sometimes exporting up to the cloud is actually more valuable than just doing it locally.
Yeah, nice. I misspelled that, but I left the Z because it seemed cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Mortises. All right, so we've got that. That's going to be up in the cloud. Let's go ahead and pop these together.
Nice.
I love seeing that fit.
And let's while we're there, let's just also let's show this fit, and then I'll show you how people can access where these files go.
We do. I think somebody took my mallet, and these dominoes are tight.
Find your mallet.
Thanks, buddy. Coming soon.
Find
Test
a
fit.
mallet.
Any old mallet
Find
will
a
do.
mallet.
Thank you. There we go.
You're pulling out the old Jake.
That's a tight one. There we go. 5 dominoes.
Where's that going?
It's nice and tight.
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
So let me tell you about the offset feature.
Hey, these are supposed to be tight.
Okay.
Yeah, they, you know, they have those ribs on the side that are supposed to be like interference so that it centers itself. Yeah. The flat sides are kind of loose though.
Okay. Nice.
Anyway, whew.
There
we go. That's a demo. So yeah, Sean, we got you up on the camera now. Let's see what that looks like in My Files now that we've sent that off.
Cool. I'm gonna go to hub.shapertools.com, and if I click my face up in the top right-hand corner and click My Files, we are going to see that Domino mortise shows up right at the top here. And so I can either open that by clicking it and opening in Studio, but also if I just open a new thing for Studio, it's going to load the latest modified file, which happens to be the one he just did. Now, there's two things to note here. When you export a file up to Studio, if you have a grid created on Origin, you get that positional information and the custom anchor point from where the grid was located. So this is really critical if you need to keep things in the same spot. You can export without a grid, but you may notice some of the shapes are rotated in weird angles. So we typically request that you export with a grid, and we'll talk through that in just a minute. But yeah, this is the uploaded file. I can select and edit everything like I normally would. And today we're going to show you a bunch of cool tricks we can do with this.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so over here, we've already swapped out. We're on to our next demo. So part 2 here, we've done export to my files, export to Studio, but what about that round trip that we were talking about?
Right.
I've got a little design problem here. I've got a sink cut out in this fake countertop, and I want to add some holes for a tap and faucet, right? And I want those right here. I want them placed really well. I want them in a location specific to this sink. What I'm going to do, say we're out in the field, I want to scan this, grid it. I'm going to send it over to Sean with Studio. He's going to add the holes for this, and then he's going to send it back to me to cut. So we're going to start fresh with this one. First step is always a scan. We're going to scan all this stuff in. Got a little bit of tape left over there from when I cut this sink cutout, but we're starting this as if it's completely fresh. And it is totally okay to lift that origin up so that you get a wider frame of view there. Finish that, stitch it all together. And instead of making a traditional grid on this, what I'm going to do is use that rectangle probe feature, and I'm literally going to probe out the shape of this sink here. It's going to give me all the dimensions plus a centerline grid on that sink. That's found under Create, Probe Rectangle, and it's going to walk me through the steps. First step is to set the depth of my probe, and I'm just using the router bit for this. Set that depth. I want to swap my edge so that I am probing up against this back edge of the sink. 1, 2. Now off to the right-hand side, up forward to the front, and now over to the left. Very cool. I'm going to set down Origin here somewhere where it can just hang out, and I'm going to go ahead and export this workspace. What should we call this, Jake?
Ply sync.
Make
Ply
sure it has
sync.
a Z in it.
Ply zinc. Nice. All right, Sean, I'm including the grid. You can toggle that on and off, but we
Great.
want to keep that, and that is coming your way.
Okay. Cool. So now we're going to go to Studio, and first thing, I'm just going to reload the Studio page. Since this is the last exported design, it's going to show up here, and you'll see we have a rectangle that represents the probed rectangle along with a center point and the custom anchor in the middle. Now, up in the Design tab, you'll see this, this little element here that says Add Origin Anchor. If you click and unclick that, it'll disappear and appear. You're going to want to make sure it's clicked when you want to export it back so that everything links back to that original location. But let's go ahead and add some elements in here. So you wanted a 50 millimeter circle, is that correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
I want 50 millimeters for the tap and for each of those faucet handles.
Okay, so we're just going to make a little circle, and I'm going to make the diameter 50 millimeters. Cool. So now we have this, and I'm just going to use this to drag it right to this middle section here. And now we could, if we wanted, use the position feature from the center. We could also position off the top of this a certain amount. All that's kind of up to the project at hand, but you can use these kind of smart guides to snap things to the right area. Okay, cool. There's a centered sink, and now let's duplicate this. So I'm just going to either hit Command D to duplicate it like that, or I'll delete that. I can select it, and then if I scroll in here, there's a duplicate button here that I can do that. Now, you duplicate, it's going to offset it just a little bit so you can grab it easier. But in this case, we might want to duplicate it in place, which is a pretty new feature in Studio. If we click that, it's going to put another circle right in the same spot. And so now what I could do is I could take my position and say, I want X plus 2 inches. Now let's make it 4 inches. Cool, so there's that one. And then maybe another one. We're just going to duplicate that in place as well. And then we're going to make position -4 inches.
Nice. And quick check on that. I wanted the center of those circles about 200 millimeters or so from the center of the sink.
Of this. Okay, cool. So we can just go to the Y and type in 200 millimeters. Boom. I was pretty close.
Nice.
200 millimeters. And then same with this one, 200 millimeters. Okay, cool. So now we have our 50 millimeter circles here. They are set up correctly. Now, if we go into plan mode, we're going to see a couple things here. So right now, these are set up as outside cuts, which we don't want because we want inside cuts for these. So I'm just going to shift select these, and I'll change the cut type to inside, and that'll change them to inside. What size bit are we using, Russ?
I've got a 1/4 inch bit here.
Okay, so that's a good preview of what we're going to do. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm actually going to take this shape here. We're not going to cut this. I'm just going to change this back into a guide. And so that way, when we pull it back into Studio, we don't get a duplicate, or pull it back to Origin, we don't get a duplicate shape here. Okay, so we have our 3 shapes and a guide. And one of the cool things about Studio and Origin here is now if we go back to Russ, I don't need to save this file. It's automatically saved as PlyZinc. So when Russ goes back and he clicks the import button, this is going to show up as a Studio workspace. And when he clicks that, he'll get the latest changes I've made.
Awesome. So here we are over here with Origin. I'm going to hit the import button. And if I come back to my files, that should be right at the top. Yeah, here we go. PlySync. I like that. And it's still grabbing this rectangle right by the center, so I can take this and, I cut out the sink, so I don't really want to actually hover it there. What I'm going to do, this would be way smarter, is use the position feature. Let's just drop that anchor point at 0, 0, and you're going to see this snap right into place.
I love that.
Yes, that's awesome. Okay, now this is the import flow if you have a Studio license. Now, Sean, I remember you wanted to mention what that would look like if you were an unlicensed Studio user.
Yes. So if you're a licensed Studio, either annual or perpetual, you have this kind of instant syncing back and forth between Studio and Origin. If you are an unlicensed Studio user, you'll actually need to go to Studio after you finish that design change, click, I don't have it on my computer, but there under the file menu, you can say export. You get 3 exports a month. They refresh every month, and so you can export and do 3 round trips a month. And if you want to do more, I would take a look at the licenses.
Yeah, I think it's so cool that you can do those 3 a month completely free, and it's super powerful.
We really want everybody to experience this because it is a really powerful back and forth. And so even if you're not a licensed user, you get some time to try it out. And if you're doing a project or 2 a month here and there, you'll be very happy.
Yeah, nice. So I'm going to cut these out. Now, Sean, I think for this one, we're doing some pretty heady stuff here, but for some folks who might be new to Sessions who haven't seen how Origin works, while I'm cutting this, could you walk me through maybe some things to try? Maybe we'll get a retraction here.
Sure.
Walk through the correction action.
So this
and I'm going to go ahead and set up to cut these circles.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about this as if you've never really seen Origin and what it does. If you look in the right-hand menu, you have scan, design, and cut. We've already made the scan. We made the design in Studio and back and forth with Origin, and now we're in cut mode. So cut mode is pretty simple. You just tell it how deep you want to cut, and when you hover a shape, it'll tell you what type of path it is. It'll give you information about how deep it might be cut. And then the third option there is an offset, and this is kind of how you make these perfect fitting joints with Origin. You can maybe we just adjust that real quick, Russ, just so you can see it to something big like 0.05 maybe.
There we go.
Cool.
0.05,
so
big
it's just
offset.
going to shift that whole cut path off of the line. So you can also do negative if you need to make it a little looser. And this is something, as you're getting used to Origin, you'll be playing with these offsets a lot to make everything fit, like inlays and joinery. It's kind of one of the magic parts of the tool. And then last but not least is the size of the bit. Every time you switch bits, you're going to type that number in, and then it'll recalculate how much material to remove. And last but not least, don't forget the Z-Touch, Russ. Z-Touch is an automatic detection of where the surface is. So when you tell it how deep to cut, it will go exactly to that depth.
Nice. So I think I'm going to turn auto pass off on this and just cut this to 1/4 inch deep because we don't need to cut all the way through all these. We're just going to show that the circles are cutting circles. And here we go.
Cool. So now that Russ has clicked cut, it's going to plunge into that material. And his job here is just to keep that big circle on the path. If you can see, there's a little dot on the line that's being cut, and that's where the bit is in the corrective mechanism. So as long as he's within that 1/2 inch area, Origin's going to do the correction for him. He just needs to slowly and gently guide Origin around that path. When he gets to the end, he can retract. And then one of the cool things about Origin is you can cut any order you want. So let's say you wanted to test fit one. You could pick the left one or the right one or the center one, cut that, see how it fits, then come back and do the other two, or keep trying offsets until you get the right size fit for your part, and then cut the other ones. And so it's kind of up to you. You can cut as many times as you want. You don't even have to cut a full shape. In this case, let's say Russ wasn't paying attention and he went off the line here. Origin's going to automatically retract the bit and say, hey, keep on the line. He's going to go back, hit the button, and then he can continue on. So it's really simple. The whole point here is, you can cut what you need to and you want. You can even stop early. Some cuts would require you not to cut the full thing out, and then you could go back and finish it. So a lot of different ways to cut, but this is just something as you get your tool, you'll get your hands on, get some practice in, and you will find what works for you. We try not to get in your way. We really just want the tool to be at your disposal for whatever your needs are.
All right, handing that off, and we got 3 nice circles on this guy. Obviously, if this were a real countertop, we'd want to cut these all the way through, but we've got 3 more demos to do, so we got to keep hustling through this stuff today.
And this is one we didn't really talk about, but we could have, let's say a few of those holes already existed. Russ could have probed those circles using the probe circle tool to get their spacing without us having to calculate it. Then we could add more holes on the side, make them snap, and be parallel to those other shapes as well. So you can probe multiple things to get that out in the studio for easier manipulation.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That was a lot of pretty heady stuff. So what do you say we take a little breather.
Go through some announcements.
Absorb, go through some announcements. Yeah, the first one is the poll question, always. This poll question, where did you first find out about BenchPilot? We're not talking so much about BenchPilot today, but we've got a demo toward the end of this guitar blank and how you might want to work back and forth between BenchPilot and Studio using this export-import workflow.
Yeah.
So how did you first learn about BenchPilot? And we're going to be giving away some good stuff at the end of the show. Studio update. Sean, I know you've got a couple other studio updates that you want to talk about because it's been a while since we've done a big studio show. So there's a lot that's in the tank.
It's true. There are a couple big updates, and we're going to jump into studio now. So I just made a new design, so I can show you a couple of the features here. Huge one, draw tool. So this is one, when you click the draw tool, you'll get a new element showing up, and you can click until your heart is content. This is really helpful for when you're creating either shapes or even just trying to shapeshift something where you're like, you know what, I just need this little section here. I just want those 2 sections. You can use the draw tool to grab very specific things. So you don't need to create rectangles or circles to allow that anymore. Just pull out the draw tool and, make a little box around things. But draw tool is really cool. You can even have it snap to things like these grids and the ends of shapes. And if you notice, when I draw, I'm going to see a little element that tells me how long it is. So that's also a great way to measure things and quickly just know how long these shapes are going to be. So that's a really simple version of the draw tool. And we'll probably go over that more in the future. But I wanted to, if you haven't tried it out, draw tool's brand new, and yeah, give it a shot. Okay. And then next up, we're going to jump back in the studio, and I'm going to show you a couple new fonts that have been added recently. And if you're not a fan of the Shaper Studio fonts, let's see if I can turn you into one right now. So if I click the add text here, I can type in hello. Let's say goodbye,
Oh,
Russ.
no.
Oh.
Too soon.
Okay, so we have this this font. Now, if I go into the font picker, you'll see some different types of fonts up here, and we've been adding fonts over the years. But this first one's really special, called single line font. And if you click that, it'll filter down all the fonts that are single line. And so now, when I hover these, you're going to see kind of some simpler fonts. But when it comes to Origin and CNC in general, when you're engraving, basically the engraving bit's going to travel on one path instead of two. And so you're going to get a much cleaner look when it comes to reading signs. So we added a few new of these. If you haven't seen it, I kind of like the Space Rocks one. It's pretty cool. But when you engrave these, when you set your depth, it's going to make it wider. So you'll have to play around with how deep to cut these. But the single line fonts are really, really nice. And you can always just click the font and change it back and select a different one. So there's a bunch of cool ones, and please check those out if you haven't already. Okay, and then last but not least, we made some import DXF improvements. So if you're someone who imports your DXFs in the studio, you should see some improvements around the way it imports those. And yeah, those are some of the big studio updates. I think Audrey will join us before too long to talk more about those in the future.
Awesome. And one more big one from you, Sean. I know you're leaving tonight right after the show to fly to Maine.
Oh, that's
so
right.
What's going on there?
Okay, so I'll be at the Maine woodworking event this weekend. It's a Saturday from 11 to 5. We're going to do some demos with Bench Pilot. We're going to be making some little bottle openers, and I'm going to kind of walk people how Bench Pilot works, as well as letting people engrave things on the top of them with Origin and manual mode. So if you're in Maine this weekend looking for something fun, come see us, and I'll be there giving some demos.
Nice. All right. Everybody go check that out. If you're in the Maine area, it's bound to be super cool. We know a lot of fun folks there. Let's see. Again, another call for questions. If you've got any questions about anything that we're doing today, send them to us in the chat, and Ted's going to forward those to us. And we're going to do a little Ask Russ Anything at the end of the show.
Nice.
In honor of my last session. Okay, last one. Sean, I'm going to throw this back to you again because I got to warm you up for doing more of these shows.
Yes.
We got a really nice email from Joseph, whose shop tour we played probably a couple months ago at this point, but he followed up on a bunch of questions that folks had. And in lieu of a shop tour today, I think we're going to just read this email and show off some photos because it's wonderful. The work is incredible.
Yeah, it really is.
You have to see it to believe it.
All right, here we go. So this is from Joseph. Hello, Russ. I thought I sent this a while ago. Good luck on your next adventure. No questions, but a little farewell. Hello, Shaper team. Thanks for showing my shop tour. Unfortunately, I missed it live as we were finishing up a big project. It was cool to see your reactions and questions about my shop tour to answer a few of your questions. We are a general build design contractor in Chicago that specializes in unique commercial spaces, mainly restaurants, cafes, and retail. I've been in the building trades for over 45 years and have many aspects of construction and building. We have also built many types of restaurants, modern, Italian, French, just to name a few. And we recently completed show, handrail, and omakase restaurant for one of my sushi clients of 30 plus years. A few preview photos below. We do custom fabrication and millwork for these projects, and we have a lot of built-in displays, exhibits, and sets. We bought our shop building 11 years ago, and as you know, they're always a work in progress, especially as we do many one-off projects. My radial arm is a saw setup for half laps and hundreds of shoji screens I have built. Other machines have similar setups. I've had Origin since the initial release and enjoy using it for many different things and always looking for new methods and uses. My top uses are for jigs, curves, joinery, holes, and engraving, labeling our work. One of the jigs I showed for my tour is a very specific door prep required for keypad access locks. We have quite a few of them that we've done for our clients. I really enjoy sessions and like how you approach the project and overcome the rare mistakes or glitches. Thank you, and check out some of the work. All right, so Now we will come over here and check out some of these build outs. Look at
Holy
this.
smokes.
Pretty cool. Nice little bar back here. Little walnut, one of Jake's favorites. And then this nice bar here. Yeah, very cool.
Beautiful.
Joseph, thanks for sending us that email. We appreciate it, and very cool work.
Yeah, super cool.
I like that. Holes, holes, more holes.
Yeah, we got to do a show. Well, you guys have to do a show on
about holes?
Yeah, 20 different ways to cut holes with Origin. We're going to add a number every time. At first it's 5 and then 6, and then we're going to do 20 different ways to do holes.
Do you like
with
to say
Origin.
it's the best hole making machine on the market?
It is. And, you know, for the longest time, I thought that it would be kind of a boring show. But I think you can make holes fun.
Oh, yeah, of course.
100%. Yeah, thanks, everybody. Keep sending in the shop tours, by the way. Those are going to go to sessions@shapertools.com. Send you a $50 gift card to shapertools.com if we play your shop tour on the show. Guidelines there, 3 minutes long, please. We've gotten some really long ones, and it just kind of sucks to have to tell somebody, please, shorter. But 3 minutes, landscape orientation, narrated is great because we love hearing your voice. And nobody describes your shop better than you. If you've got any weird jigs or fixtures or like cool ways that you've solved a problem or like a really interesting Origin setup, we really love to see that stuff that's unique to you. So send those again to sessions@shapertools.com.
Free $50.
Yeah. Let's get back to work over
Back
here.
to work.
All
Next
right.
one's coming up is going to be a little tray, bowl, so funky shape, super weird. How are you going to reference that?
Jake, you made this in like 15 minutes before the show. This was
Did I make it or did Bench Pilot?
Yeah, right. Well, you traced it first. You just drew out
I
this
did,
kind
yeah.
of blobby shape, which was fun. Traced it and then sent it to Bench Pilot, and it zipped this out, which is awesome.
Drew it super small, scaled it up on tool, set the cut paths up, and just hit go.
hmm So technically, we do have the design file for this because you traced it. But what we're about to show you applies to all different kinds of organic work. And after we cut this, Sean's got another piece that he has a photo of that he's going to show you, a bigger piece of organic work, where you really want to align some kind of digital design to something that isn't rectangular or organic at all. So we've got this bowl. I'm going to tack this down here. We're going to scan it in. And then we're going to probe it a different way. So, first step always is going to be the double-sided tape. And we can just put a couple pieces on the rim here. What did you use? 3, 4 pieces?
Yeah, 3 pieces. We're barely.
Yeah, okay.
Not making too much.
Yeah, we're just
noise on
engraving.
it.
We're going to engrave on the bottom of this. We figured, you know, we showed you guys these new studio fonts, and we better put some single-line fonts to the test. So I just love those. They make engraving so easy. No more doubling up the lines. All right. Double-sided tape. And
All right. I have
what are you setting me up with
I
there?
have you set up with the 4mm extra long reach bit,
Oh.
and we're going to use that as our probe.
You like using the 4mm extra long reach?
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause it's nice and deep. I have it chucked up pretty high right now, but when you're ready, I'm going to have you lower it all the way. The idea is we want that bit to be lower than the material top surface. We're not going to be turning it on, but it is chucked up way far out.
I see. Interesting. Okay, so it's way up there. All right, so I'm going to just drop this piece down, stick it into place.
Beautiful.
I like that. I've got a router. I want this to be overhanging the edge. And you said I'm going to loosen this and go ahead and drop that bit down.
Let's scan first.
Scan first.
Yeah, let's get that in.
Smart. Okay. So let's do a new scan here. And we'll just get a quick one.
It's always great
Grab
to,
that bowl.
to mill up extra material because we're just using a tape board that's the same thickness as our bowl.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we got that. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and drop this bit down. So this is chucked out super far in the spindle. Jake had that clamped above where it would normally rest, and I just lowered it down to its final resting place. And so let's look at that cut cam here. You can see now that this is way lower. Like there's my wrench underneath the base of origin, you can see it's going well below that. So, all right, Jake, what am I going to do next?
All right, so we're going to use the pen tool to essentially probe off of this thing. So we're using this 4mm bit as our probe, and we're going to work our way around the shape, contacting and making a series of points, and just drawing a rough outline of this amoeba.
How close does this have to be? Like every inch or so?
Yeah, every inch or so. It's giving us more of a guideline. And when we move this over into Studio, we know that we did this with a 4mm bit. So we can kind of imagine, all right, our true shape is 2 millimeters in on either side. Just a hair smaller than what we're seeing.
I see. And what I'm seeing here is that, when the curve is tight, maybe I want to do more points.
Exactly.
But when the curve is shallow, then, especially like, wow, I'm coming up to a really good spot for this. You can really space it out when that curve is shallow.
And we're just making light contact. We lowered the bit enough to where we're not worried about flutes. Somewhere we are touching, the true size of the bit. And then coming around to the last one, just connect the dots.
Finish. Hey, nice. Okay, and first thing I want to do before I move the tool at all, in case I forget and turn the spindle on. I think it was smart. I actually just noticed you put this in, but you didn't plug it in. That's a good one, too. Double safety check. So we're going to pull this spindle out so that we don't accidentally turn that on. Now, the other thing that I want to drop in here is a grid so that we're able to replace this at the same position. It doesn't have to be a precise grid. It's not a grid off of anything. It's just a grid to hold a place so that I can send a 0-0 location to Sean. He can do something in Studio, and I can take it back and put it back down in the same spot. So I'll make a new grid. Yeah, let's keep that depth. And you can just double click. If you just want to make a grid that holds a reference point, just a quick double click.
Yeah.
Let me do that again.
Does not matter
New
where
grid.
it is, just that it is.
Yep. We're going to say that depth is fine because I'm not even using a depth. And I'm just going to double click.
Boom, boom.
That's it.
Instagrid.
All right, now let's export. Let's call this, I don't know how I'm going to put a Z in bowl.
Blobs.
Blobs. I almost spelled it bulbs. Blobs. Okay, there we go. Include grid. Export, and Sean, that's on its way.
Nice. Cool. So we're going to jump into Studio, and I'm going to start by loading studio.shapertools.com. That's going to grab the latest file that's modified, and now you can see we have a pretty good representation of this shape. And so now, first things first, let's change this into a reference. So this actually, I don't know if we've actually gone over this much, but in Studio now, there's a new feature called Reference, and if you select a shape, you can click the reference lock, and that'll lock this shape and turn it yellow. So now it lives in Studio, and you can snap things to it and use it, but when you bring it back to Origin, it's gonna ignore that. So it's kind of like a guide, but it's really helpful for just keeping stuff in Studio. So let's jump back into this text tool, and what did we want to do, Jake?
Let's say
we want to go with the flow, right?
Go with the flow.
Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and
right.
place that text, and now I'm just going to kind of pick a spot where I kind of like this section over here, so we'll drag it over here, and I'm going to make it a bit smaller, and I will turn it into that single line by clicking the font picker, making the category single line font, and then let's pick. I kind of like this Twin Sans. How about that one?
Do it.
Okay, and so now I'm going to rotate this roughly to fit that, and I'm going to make sure I give it a little bit of space because we know we're offset by a little bit. And then I would pick it right there. Now, if I wanted to, I could also make a little circle, and I could make that. What size bit did we use?
The offset bit was a 4mm bit.
4 millimeters.
For probing, yeah.
So if I wanted to kind of see how much space I would need, that would be a good representation of it. So we got plenty of room here. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit more. Oh, rotate it. Right there. Boom. And I'll delete this little circle. And then, like I said, we don't have to save this. We don't have to do any of those things. That file's automatically saved as a studio design. And now, Russ, we're going to import that shape.
All right, back to me. Here we are back on Origin. We're going to import. That's right here at the top. Blobs, we got go with the flow. Oh yeah, see, right there. So it's right where Sean designed that. And it's so cool that with Studio you can play with all the different font styles and the placement and the size way easier than you could on Origin. It's just a different design tool. So we'll go into cut. While Sean was designing, I went ahead and chucked up an engraving bit, and let's get those cut settings set. So I don't want to go that deep. I'm just going to use Origin's suggestion for an engraving depth that's 0.02 inches. We'll go online, no offset for online cuts. Diameter, engraving bit. I do want to Z-touch this, and I'm going to let it run automatically, but I am going to do it on my tape board so it doesn't dig into my workpiece accidentally, that pretty sharp point there. Okay, and I can turn the speeds up to, let's go 35 inches a minute, because we're just engraving. It's taking so little material. We can also use auto mode on this and auto lock to zip through some of these letters.
What do you mean by that, Russ?
What do I mean by using
auto locked?
Auto locked. I'm going to show you. We're going to double click the green button, and Origin's going to just move the spindle completely on its own. I don't have to move the router as we're cutting these letters. It's especially handy when the letter fits entirely inside this corrective range here. So I don't even have to move the router at all. Origin's just going to zip it out. Let's see how that works with this letter G. I'm going to turn the spindle on and double click. And that is auto lock. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on with the rest of these. Shouldn't take long.
Yeah, let's see. So, yeah, I mean, if you're cutting manually with Origin, you're going to plunge and retract each one. This is one of the things where with Bench Pilot, now you can say, hey, select all those shapes, hit go. It would kind of cut all those for you without you having to do something, which is pretty exciting, especially if you're engraving a bunch of text. I did something the other day where I'm, engraving a whole recipe, which is a ton of text, and you can do it by hand, but this is like one of the things where with Bench Pilot, you're going to start seeing these projects where, you're doing a lot more cutting or repetitiveness. Those types of projects are going to become much more possible and doable with Bench Pilot. So it's kind of a cool way to see, with Origin, we have this now ability to plug it into a tool that automatically drives it. But at the same time, if this was on top of a piece of furniture or something that was immovable, like a floor, Origin just unclips straight out of Bench Pilot, put it on that floor. You can cut that out, and that's something no other CNC can do. And so we're really excited to see, where people go when they get their Bench Pilots, what they're doing with it, how your manual cutting and Bench Pilot operations start melding together.
All right, here we go. There it is. Go with the flow. Yeah, I'll hand this to you, Jake, so that we can show this off on the side camera. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, and obviously if we had this as a shape that was already, designed in the computer, we wouldn't need to export things up and down to realign it because it would just be part of the design. But if you have something that you've already cut, or let's say a cutting board that already has a shape that you don't have a design and tape set up for, this is where all these kind of probing features, export it up, do your design work and bring it back down. You're always going to be in the right spot. And that's kind of the whole kind of point about this kind of round trip workflow is you're going to be in the location on your workpiece, go up into the digital design world in Studio, and then be able to come back and know that those shapes are going to be in the right spot.
Yeah, Sean, did you end up finding that photo from your buddy of the slab that he was working on?
Yes, let's show that. So coming to my computer, this is a little project that my buddy Ed did, and you may know him from community and the Facebook group. This was a design that he quoted someone to do, which was, hey, I have a live edge piece of walnut that I want our company sign to be on. So he basically took this, a picture of it and kind of designed on the top of it in Photoshop, and then, sent it out and said, hey, this is kind of what it would look like. And then you can see on the right side here, this is kind of the finished piece. And it looks very close. He did a very good job of like lining it up. But what I was telling him when I was talking to him, I was like, oh man, this is a great example of where probing, which we just showed, where a live edge slab is not a uniform surface. It's very organic. And being able to probe all those spots and then going to do your design work in studio means that you're not going to have any problems when you come back. And you'll notice a couple of these things where a couple of the hexagons he had drawn in later, he realized would not fit on the material in the way that he had done it. So this is kind of the thing where you're probing the material, coming up to studio, coming back down, and you kind of know where everything is in the first place. And so you don't have to do so much guesswork. And so we hope that we'll see more projects like this in the future. We think Round Trip's going to be a really game changer for a lot of people.
Yeah, super cool. Okay, demo number 4.
Demo number 4.
So we worked on this one on the last show when we talked about doing batch joinery with bench pilot. We made this fixture for these tripod stool legs. This is the top portion of the fixture. You might remember how these parts nest, wrong way, like this, like so, in here. And okay, so I've done this before. Like, I've done something in studio, I've imported it, I was lazy, I didn't make a grid, I just plopped something down because I figured Origin's going to cut it out rectangularly, everything's going to be nice and square, why not cut the thing free? That's great until you realize that you made a mistake in your design. So
we've all done it. This is the thing that's going to save you.
This is the thing that's going to save you. So this is a stand-in for anything that you might make a mistake on and you want to go back to studio to fix. If we look at Origin here, you can see if I zoom in on the screen, I've gone ahead and cut this, but what didn't happen was this top piece did not get shape-shifted into this little extension. Why is that important? Because if you don't cut beyond the edge of your fixture, you're going to get these little cusps right here. And on a little fixture like this, okay, maybe you could chisel them out, but the more of these you have, the more of a hassle it is. And especially if you're working on something that's like finished quality like furniture, you don't want those router cusps at all. You want to shape-shift all this stuff together so that you can go ahead and actually cut down along beyond the edge. Right now, my legs would never fit into this. It just wouldn't do it. But what's cool about this is that I can go ahead and make that grid and send it out to Sean. It looks like I already made a grid on this one so that we could practice this before the show. But pretend that that isn't there. You can see that this is kind of cattywampus, like, it's a little lower on the right than it is on the left. And I placed it relatively squarely, but if I were to try to realign this, there's no position
you just
on this
eyeballed
one. I just eyeballed it. Yeah. So what we're going to want to do is, you don't have a grid on this. We're going to make a grid. We're going to make that new grid. I do want to lower that router bit down. Need to flip my engraving bit around so that it's back to probe style over here. So let's take this out and give it a little flip. And this is pretty similar to all this stuff that we've been doing, where you send it over to Studio, you fix it, or you update your design, and you re-import it right back to where it goes. The difference here just being that, hey, you can make your grid after you place your design instead of before. Yeah. All right, lowering this down so that we get that probing depth. That's much better. Now, we do want to make sure that the router bit diameter is correct. Okay, let's give this a corner grid. 1, 2, 3. And really, like the last one, it doesn't actually matter that your grid is anywhere in particular. You just need a point so that that design can go back in the same place.
So you could have done the double tap grid.
I could have done the double tap grid
Yeah,
on
okay.
this. Yeah. So we're going to export this. Let's call this joints. Done. Include grid. And Sean, that's on its way over to studio.
All right, so once more, we'll go back in the studio. I'm going to reload that page. And then boom, there we are. So now what Russ was saying is these little shapes here are not connected to these shapes, right? And so we need to connect those. So I'll undo that. And so I'm just going to select this one and hold shift to select these. Hit shapeshifter. I'm going to select all, make shape. And there is one of our new shapes. So I would just do that with the other ones as well. So I'll select, shift, select those. Shapeshifter, select all, make shape. Click, click, click. Shapeshifter, select all, make shape. And then now if we go to plan mode, you're going to see that they are single shapes. Now, one note is these are online shapes, which we would really not want. We would want an inside shape. And then we're done. So Russ, if you import that shape back in, you will now see your files ready.
Okay. Back to import. So here we are. Importing joints for my tripod stool joints. And I'm going to just drop that point at 0, 0, and you'll see that that template lines up exactly on top of the last one. And now we should be able to go in here, go to cut. Let's set up our bit, a 1/4 inch. We're going to Z-touch this, make sure to Z-touch on the solid surface. Let's go 1/8 of an inch deep. And now if I switch around, you'll see I've got this new template that's actually going all the way around. And for simplicity here, I'm actually going to go back to design, and I'm going to delete my old one. There we go. And now all that we have is that correct path.
Yeah, so I mean, one of Studio's superpowers is this shapeshifter tool. And so even just being able to quickly upload that, jump on your phone or your computer, select a couple things, hit shapeshift, and re-import that file, fixes a problem that previously would have meant picking out the chisels or trying to go back to the computer to resolve this design problem. But a lot of those little things can just be resolved right with a quick up export followed by a design change back to the tool, and before you know it, you're done.
There we go.
Nice and easy.
Easy fix. And that, I mean, I spent 15 minutes cutting this, so it saved me 15 minutes of rework just being able to export that. And this has saved me at times when I've spent way more than 15 minutes on something, and I realize it's always the last one where you realize that something's wrong.
We were trying to come up with like a good example for this exact thing, and we're like, every time that we've used it, it's been like,
You're in so deep.
yeah,
Yeah.
we can't show that and have it make sense. So try to simplify it so that we can apply it to
Yeah.
your future
Yeah,
projects.
I mean, it's a pretty good get out of jail free card. You know, just being able to quickly fix a mistake that would have taken, you know, do I recut it or realign and fix it quickly in Studio?
Mm-hmm. All right, and now our last one is we're back to planning mode.
Yeah.
You know, we're thinking about what we're trying to do. Maybe setting this up on Origin is going to be a little tedious. Maybe the setup tools in Studio are going to be really useful, especially when we get to bigger cuts like the ones that we're making for Bench Pilot. So, Jake, what do you have set up over here?
Well, I got a little excited and I started cutting out a T-body guitar, and then I realized that there's a lot of information on the inside of this thing, a lot of depth information that I did not set. So, before I continue this cut,
Can I hand you the Origin?
absolutely,
There we go.
I wanted to take a moment to actually measure my hardware and make sure that I get all the depths of those pockets bang on. So, workspaces.
Yeah, let's just cycle that workspace real quick. We've got a bunch of guitar hardware that needs to go in all these different pockets here. We've got pickups, we've got jacks, we've got place for the neck.
And none of them have
encoded depths.
which is fine. We need to decide what hardware we want to use and input it for there. So I'm going to go ahead and export this. Again, I've already cut the outline, so I really need to, I got to make this work. And export that as my guitar. Oops, sorry, guitars. Export with my grid included. Send that over to Sean. And then Sean, I'm going to read you some of my measurements for my hardware. And specifically, it is that kind of upside down diamond shape below the neck of the guitar.
Okay.
That's the pickup that I'm looking for.
Nice. All right. So we will jump into Studio and reload that page to bring up the guitar here. And you'll notice the place that Jake put the grid is actually going to rotate this shape around. And it doesn't really matter because Origin will rotate it properly back. But where you put the grid, it will automatically rotate the shape in Studio depending on that. So just one thing to keep in mind, if you're seeing some weird rotations, you can set up a grid on a different corner. Now, okay, so you want this diamond shape. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. If I go into plan mode, what we're going to see is the depth is currently a 0, which means there is no depth. And so tell me what depth you would like, Jake.
That first one is going to be, wow, 0.75 on the money.
Boom. Okay, so I'm just going to type in 0.75 and enter. And now when I click off, and let's say I click a different shape, that's going to be at 0. But when I click this shape, it's going to be at 0.75. Now, one of the things that Jake mentioned is that, you know, the whole point of this is you could change this on Origin, but in the case where there's a bunch of things, you know, it's just easier to change it here. So let's say, you know, even the path type, oh, it was supposed to be online instead of outside. That's something we could make a change right here. Maybe we go from a pocket to a, you know, an online cut for some reason. Not really in this case, but these path types and depths will all get transferred over with BenchPilot when we go back to BenchPilot. Okay.
Beautiful.
So Jake, that one shape is now updated in depth. So you can, yes, the bottom pickup. So you can go ahead and try that on Tool. Cool.
Yeah, nice.
Set these to the side. Excellent, right at the top. I need to rotate this positive 180. There we go. Bam, right at my 0, 0 point. We are lined right back up. Now when I hover over that, I want to make sure that I'm going over the correct file. Should have gotten rid of the old one first.
We could delete both.
I'm just going to do that. Remove.
It is a little nerve-wracking
It
to delete
is.
something before you re-import the right thing, but
It's gone now.
you got to trust the process, yeah.
Yeah, you could always duplicate that workspace beforehand, so you have an old copy as well, in case you mess something up. But
Position this. 0, 0.
There we
Boom.
go. Was it the lower one?
There you go. There it is.
Yeah, there we go. Beautiful.
Now from here, I can just click into BenchPilot and let it rip.
By let it rip, you mean we're gonna cut this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anything else we need to check before we get started? You got the router bit in there.
I do. I'm going to
Probably just want to select this one path, so we could deselect all and just cut the one that we updated. Nice thing about BenchPilot is that it's really conversational. You just pick the thing that you want to cut.
Yep. I like to double check my passes. Great. 3 depth passes, all pocket, ready to go.
All right. So BenchPilot's going to go ahead and run through the pocketing on this. Now, some cool things about BenchPilot. Jake's going to be able to go ahead and turn that speed up and down to fit the pace that he wants to go. Jake, did we already get a speed adjustment in there? 39. Let's crank that. This thing goes 45 inches a minute. Yeah, nice. We're automatically pocketing all the way down to depth. You're just going to leave it run. Okay. And BenchPilot's going to do its thing. Got about a 3-minute cut. One of the benefits of BenchPilot compared to Origin is that you've got this automatic pocketing, which is going to go ahead and pocket all the way down to depth and step out in equal increments until you get all the way to the edge of the pocket. And with BenchPilot pocketing compared to Origin pocketing, with Origin you're used to the pocket having kind of a built-in buffer, but with the extra precision of BenchPilot, it's going to take you right up to that edge. So it's going to kind of roughly pocket everything out, and then it's going to do a lighter finish pass all the way around the inside of the pocket. You can see at the top we've got 2 minutes remaining. If you wanted to step away from the router, you could go ahead and hit that top button, and you've got a nice little big screen that says, hey, 2 minutes remaining. You can walk away and look at it from across the shop and check on it, make sure that it's doing well. You also can pause anytime. So if you want to just take a break while something's in the middle, maybe go get a cup of coffee or just pause to see how it's doing, you can always just pause, move BenchPilot out of the way to see how it's doing, and hit that green button again. It'll pick back up right where it left off. Super easy. I love this 45 inches a minute. I think that's the thing that sells me on BenchPilot more than anything else. It just rips. Like, I think when we cut, on average, we're running like 15 to 20 inches a minute by hand, something like that. So that 45, aside from letting you just be hands-off on the thing, it's like doubling your throughput.
Sounds like it's done.
We've got just the finishing pass left here.
Yeah,
so you can see how much less material it's taking off of this finishing
and
pass.
as Russ mentioned, when you're in BenchPilot, you don't need to have a pocket shape that you then change the inside. It's going to cut the pockets all the way to the shape's edge.
Mm-hmm. Just fun to watch. There we go.
Sweet.
How's the fit?
I mean,
Oh, we got a bunch of wires.
minus the wiring.
Pretty good, though.
Fantastic. Yeah. Excellent.
Pretty cool. I think that's a wrap.
I think so.
We're going to dive into the Q&A. I think Sean's got that question stock pulled up. We're going to do a bunch of giveaways here. Reminder for everyone, join our next session live if you're watching this on YouTube. We do these every other Thursday at 4 o'clock Pacific from the Shaper studio out here in San Francisco. I won't be here, but I'll tune in and check it out. Sorry, I'm going to miss you
Not gonna be
guys.
the same without you.
Thank
gonna
you,
really miss
everybody,
you.
for watching and for helping us learn, because we get a lot out of these.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
We'll see you on the next Shaper session 2 weeks from now, Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific.
See you there.
See ya.
Bye.